This next subject that we're going to discuss is Paulo Freire's Pedagogy of the Oppressed. Paulo Freire is a group of philosophers that we call critical theorists. And critical theorists, when I first learned about critical theory, it was like a different language to me. And I know there's a lot of big words in this assignment. But critical theory plays an important part in education. They look at education differently than other philosophers and psychologists. They look at education through critical lenses. But here's my definition of critical theory. It deals with issues that relate to unnecessary suffering. So there's a lot of issues in education about test scores and other things that we'll talk about later, but we're looking at this through lenses that are ethical, moral, and spiritual, that talk about the reasons teachers suffer, students suffer unnecessarily. Okay, so with that introduction, Paulo Freire is talking about, well, first of all, let me say, Paulo Freire is actually from Brazil, and he's writing about the schools in Brazil. He passed away a few years ago, and he actually came to the United States a number of times. I never did get to meet him. That's one of my big regrets, that I didn't get to meet him, because he had such a profound influence on my teaching. This article and his book, Pedagogy of the Oppressed, is also a book, changed the way that I taught. It changed everything that so much of what I had thought about what was good teaching. It really had a positive influence on me, because I realized from his writing that I was one of the oppressors. So this is a reading that will probably generate a lot of thinking and reflecting on your part, because we've all had teachers that practice the banking method on us. I still see it today. Most of my students experience the banking method. So with that in mind, Paulo Freire talks about what happens to people in regards to their alienation, oppression, and equalities of society. These are the big themes that he is talking about. And he talks about the banking method of education. That should come pretty clear to you as you read through. But for the purpose of this podcast, I just wanted to go over some of the highlights of the banking method. Sometimes people read this and they think he's advocating the banking method. He is not. He's calling it oppressive, and he's calling it necrophilic, which means the love of death. So it is not a progressive kind of education at all. It actually has its roots back in our history. It's been back many years of trying to pour in or deposit information or data into us and then retrieving it later. But here on the second page of the reading, the teacher teaches and the students are taught. You notice it's one way. Teacher does the teaching, students are being taught. The teacher knows everything and the students know nothing. This is a disposition that the teacher sets up in a classroom that assumes that students come in knowing nothing. And that is so far from the truth. The teacher thinks and the students are thought about. Well, you can figure that out. The teacher talks and the students listen meekly. This is the model. You've seen it played out over and over again. The teachers do the teachings, and the students do the listening and listening, and it's never the other way around. It's not both ways, where the teacher listens and the students teach. Actually, in the last few years, I have done a program that works with high-risk young people, and I wish I'd done this many years ago, because they have so much to teach us if we would merely listen to their voices. They're crying out, and we turn often a deaf ear to them. So the teacher disciplines and the students are disciplined. You notice, it's one way. And then the next one, F, the teacher chooses and enforces his choice or her choice, and the students are there to comply. The teacher, I love this one, the teacher acts and the students have an illusion of acting through the action of the teachers. So what the students do is not real, it's not solving real problems. We give them the illusion that they are solving real problems and figuring out real problems, but these are problems that most of them have been figured out long ago. The teacher chooses the program content, and the students who were not consulted adopt to it. And this goes even to the higher levels. The teachers are told what to teach, and they just merely adopt to it. The teacher confuses the authority of knowledge of his own professional authority, which he sets in opposition to the freedom of the students. And again, the students are not considered when we make out programs, when we make out tests. What do the students really need to know? We don't hear back from them. In fact, with you folks, we didn't ask you, even in this course, what is it that you need to know? What do you really want to learn? We set it up ahead of time. I'm required to, okay? The teacher is the subject of the learning process, while the students are mere objects. And we'll get into that later, of turning students into objects or things. So, what is learning? How do we learn? He talks about the banking method and the problem-posing method. And I just want to share with you just the highlight of the problem-posing. This is a sentence near the very beginning in the 4th paragraph. He says, apart from inquiry, and you know what inquiry is, asking questions, apart from praxis, praxis is just merely the practice of doing things, men cannot be truly human. Knowledge emerges only through invention, reinvention, through the restless, impatient, continuing hopeful inquiry men pursue in the world, with the world, and with each other. How do we get our students to ask questions? Get them thinking beyond what is written in the textbook, to look critically at things. And that's what this course is about, is so that we will critically examine our own pedagogy. Oh, by the way, you know what the word pedagogy means? I hope you'll look that one up on your own without me telling you what it is. Okay? Listen, this may be an uncomfortable read, but it's an important reading for you, and I hope you will take it to heart. Just like many before you have around the world. This is an iconic reading and book that he has written that people refer to all over the world. You will hear the term, the banking method, and then now you'll know where it came from. I hope the course is going well for you, and I look forward to reading your responses. Thank you.